Welcome to the SDA Housing Podcast, brought to you by NDIS Property Australia. Before starting this episode, we need to provide a general disclaimer. Information contained in this podcast is general in nature only. It does not take into account the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. You need to consider your financial situation and needs before making any decisions based on the information in this podcast. And you should consider seeking independent and professional advice for your personal circumstances. All right, let's begin.
Hello everybody, my name is Min and I'm your co-host with Larissa from the SDA Housing Podcast, a show that explains, highlights, guides and brings awareness about all things SDA in this ever-changing NDIS world. Today, Larissa, what are we talking about on our podcast?
We are talking about our new baby, which is SDA Advisory Services. So really excited to delve into a little bit of information around what it is, who it's for and how it works. So what's your thoughts around it, Min?
Well, let's talk about why we created this.
Yeah. So essentially why we jumped into this was we had a lot of industry professionals reaching out to us, asking us, what is your opinion on X, on this house and land package, on building, on how we can maximize the yield, what category type, all the different questions, but at a very, very different capacity. They weren't looking to be the investor. They were just merely seeking some shape or form of advisory. So we put our heads together and came up with this fee-for-service model. For one, I really do believe that this will essentially help fix potentially the guesswork and the horror stories in the industry. A lot of issues in the SDA space come from people not doing the research and just doing a lot of guesswork in SDA. It's been a few weeks in development, but it's essentially based off the knowledge, the IP and the success from NDIS Property Australia and the past few years of working with investors, developers and agents.
Exactly. So as we all know, we don't want to be sold anything at all out there. And I'm sure a lot of investors out there, and other agents and developers and builders, that they want to tap into a well-branded, experienced and knowledgeable service. And we thought if we can offer this service on a fee-for-service model and provide as much or as little support, advice and mentoring to stakeholders out there in the NDIS or SDA world, then that will be our service to the community, I guess. So that's hence the reason why SDA Advisory Services has begun. Larissa, what has been your feedback in the last few weeks from people who've reached out to you after hearing you start promoting the SDA or SAS kind of service model, please?
Yeah, the feedback has been really interesting. So just to give you a couple of scenarios, obviously SDA Advisory Services, we cater to B2B professionals. And the feedback from agents is, this is great. It's exactly kind of what I needed because I have many clients coming up to me, but I don't know too much about NDIS, which to me sometimes it sounds like it may feel a need, but there is a long education process that we need to go along just to make sure that they are educating and following our blueprint. What SDA Advisory Services is not, though, is we are not a guaranteed fix every problem. We are purely here to support teams that truly want to understand not just one component of the scheme, not just the how to sell and how to introduce an investor to a provider or how to essentially get a quick sale. We are here to fully educate everyone from start to finish about SDA and all the nuances that it is. So the feedback so far has been really well received. We've had a lot of developers and funds see a lot of value in employing us with their big acquisitions because they'd rather get it right and spend the money and understand the space from a team who have been and done there and worked on different projects across Australia rather than do the guesswork and the lengthy research themselves. So far it's been good, but yeah, there's still obviously a work in progress, which I'm really excited about, Mim.
So Larissa, I want to read some of the points on our SDA Masterclass brochure that we have on our website. And I just want to read 20 or 30 of these little points just to show the level of topics, content, info that needs to go through in order to get a project underway and happening. And this is really just all the random topics here. So number 1, SDA data research, feasibility and cash flow analysis, build design guidelines compliance, tenancy mix options and outcomes, product due diligence of SDA properties, design compliance and assessment, locations selection, infill areas versus new estates, choosing the right SDA provider, understanding the funding levels for SDA income for participants, understanding the funding levels of SIL participants, the SIL funding of participants who are SDA funded as well, calculating the SDA income based on these mixed funding levels, builder background checks, supply and demand data and pipeline builds, understanding the differences between apartments versus houses versus villas, floor plans and designs, the future proofing of SDA products, investing in or building in metro versus regional areas, the differences between SIL funding and SDA funding, red flags when getting advice, understanding the difference in housing accommodations for SDA and STA, MTA and SIL, and the capital required to invest in SDA. Larissa, those are just some, not all, some of the very important topics that an investor or developer or a project manager needs to cover in their assessment due diligence of doing just a normal house, let alone a project here.
Yeah, and I think if anyone listening's going, oh, I haven't heard that before, I'd actually ask yourself the question then, are you actually doing a full due diligence process on that product? Because this is where we find how we do our own feasibility. And as a part of, I guess, our SDA advisory services, this is something that will get you very familiar with the process. Now, it's not, like I mentioned before, a guarantee or a shortcut to 100% success rate. The industry is moving very fast, thick and thin in different spaces. Wouldn't you agree, Min?
Yeah,
We don't hold a crystal ball, unfortunately, but we do have a proven track record with investors, developers and different groups across Australia with what works and what doesn't.
Yeah. So what we've noticed across the industry is no one is actually out there trying to bring all the information together and trying to share the information out there as well. So, we urge stakeholders out there in the community of SDA just to, collaborate, share and work together, because that really is the key here. But even still, Larissa, for a new entrant into the community of SDA, it's hard for such a person to find the appropriate mentors or sources of information to go to learn about all the things I've just mentioned on the list just there, Larissa. It's just too hard to go to find the source.
Definitely. And I'd probably put this in the realm of if there is like a real estate professional who pays for a coach. This is very similar. The modeling's a little bit different. It's a fee for service. So you only use what you're actually wanting to engage in. So it's just like that. If you want to upskill in a certain area, you employ a personal coach or someone to teach you the ropes. That's where SDA advisory services can help you in a comprehensive manner to learn everything associated with SDA.
Yeah. I mean, I want to give you a sporting example here, Larissa. When a boxer goes into the ring to box for 2 rounds or 3 rounds, which is what, a minute or 2 minutes each, right? That match is probably 5 minutes of his life. But how much work did he do in the background leading up to that boxing match? The training, the diet, the exercise, all the preparation work just to get to that one moment to succeed in that one match. And in this case here with SDA, I know it's a bit of a crazy analogy here, but there's just so much work that is done in the background by everyone to deliver that one moment, which is product delivery at the end here after a year of construction here. So, we see too many so-called real estate agents and wealth creators trying to come into the SDA world, and good for them, right? But they just don't know what they're doing, and they are what I call the blind leading the blind, because they're just out there promoting the wrong information. They're not disclosing the risks involved in SDA investing, and it really is, as my friend Brad Fuller mentioned, it is destroying lives out there. When people put out there $1 million cash or $1 million of loans to buy a house in the middle of nowhere and it's empty, you've literally destroyed their life. And so many people are using superannuation money and leverage funds as well to chase this dream of 15, 20, 25% returns, to only find out at the end of it that they were lied to and tricked into doing this transaction. So the whole goal here is really for us as a business, Endus Property Australia with a subsidiary service trading as SDA Advisory Services, to educate the professional community who are trying to operate in the SDA world, and to try and give a bit more clarity as to what they should be doing in preparation prior to giving the advice. And let me be clear here. Everyone says, "Oh, I don't give advice. I would never give advice." But hang on, you are giving advice. You're getting someone to invest $1 million into a house on their package, and that's the entire life savings. So for you to say, "I don't give advice," is a load of rubbish. You are giving them advice, because in a court of law, a solicitor's going to say in front of a judge, the defendant, which is the agent, tricked my client into buying a property which had no hope of being filled up with tenancy, and they've lost all their money. Okay, so this is a serious matter here. We're getting a lot of we've been seeing a lot of complaints, concerns from people in the community around Australia about their empty houses in SDA, and I can't stress enough the fact that people are getting it wrong. People being investors who are listening to the wrong people on Facebook or talking to the wrong wealth creators who have no idea what they're doing. They're just getting the wrong information out there. And the whole purpose of this service, again, it's a service, is we're trying to help professionals out there to do the right thing. And that's all we're trying to do, to help the community.
Exactly. And going back to the ethos of this as well, and where my heart really sits, is that I'm hoping SDA Advisory Services helps with the mismatch of investors buying homes based on the advice from a property agent or something that they've read. This will really, in my opinion, provide agents who are ethically minded and understand that the scheme is for participants in mind, and the best way to get there is educating your investors correctly.
So, in the financial planning world, where I used to come from many years ago, there's a motto which we have to abide by, Larissa, and that is, do what's in the best interests of your client. Okay, that is an ethical motto that we have to live by and work by in the finance world, or finance broking and financial planning and investment advice. Unfortunately, that motto doesn't really apply in the real estate world. So if you are a professional who's out there selling SDA, do what's best interest of the client, please. Do the right thing. Do not destroy someone's life, financial life, and hopefully you can educate them into what the risks are involved with the whole process of buying an SDA property. So hopefully, Larissa, our SDA Advisory Services will pick up in due course, because we are talking to a few builders, developers, fund managers, institutions, and sophisticated officers, family officers, who are embracing the idea of a fee-for-service advisory business in SDA. And that's what we're launching right now in 2024, early 2024, for the community to engage as well.
Yes, and I'm really excited because we've catered all different packages to all different professionals at different levels. So if you want more information about the current product offering, which it's subject to change depending on market conditions and product development, but we'd love to be able to share that with you and see if our values do align, and if we can help yourself and potentially your investor base get solid, sound, ethical advisory in SDA.
Cool. Thank you so much, Larissa. All good.
No,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please make sure you are subscribed and following us so you can keep in the loop with all of our upcoming episodes. We would really appreciate it if you could leave us a 5-star rating, a written review, and to share this podcast with those that could benefit. Until next time, catch you on the next episode.